YouTube, what's up? Riz here, and the draft is unfortunately over, but we're going to continue to talk about it here. I was trying to figure out the best way to find out who the winner of the draft was, and I'm kind of stealing ESPN's idea here. They made a bracket, they're calling it the Dracket, and it's just a matchup between all the teams, and we'll eventually find out who the winner is, and I'm going to go ahead and do that based off my grades for the players and how teams drafted based off that. This video will cover the AFC, all the first round matchups for the AFC. Next video will be the first round matchups for the NFC teams. And then we'll go round by round for the videos until we have a winner. So let's get started. Patriots versus the Dolphins. So we're staying in the division here, it looks like. Patriots versus the Dolphins. We'll start with the Patriots. They only had 4 picks. They picked Derek Rivers in the 3rd round. Good pick. That's where I expected him to go. Antonio Garcia also in the 3rd round. I thought there was a chance of him sliding into the 2nd, but 3rd is where I expected him, so solid pick. Dietrich Weiss in the 4th round. I kind of expected him 4 or 5. But obviously, the Patriots like him. He must be good. And then 6th round, Connor McDermott, offensive lineman, UCLA. Another one where I expected him to go. So this isn't a wow draft, but there's no bad picks here. They filled, really their needs was edge rusher. They got 2 edge rushers. So solid draft. Didn't really wow, but again, solid. Now we're looking at the Dolphins draft. 1st round, they took Charles Harris, defensive end. They needed more linebackers, but Charles Harris is too good of a player to pass up. He's a solid player, and he will help the team even though he's not a linebacker. He'll play DN for the Dolphins. Round 2 is Raekwon McMillan. Now that fills the need, and he is a good player in the 2nd round, the inside linebacker from Ohio State. So that is a great pick. Right around where I expected him to go, though, so not really going to wow with that pick, but it's a good pick and fills the need. Now, the 3rd round, they took Cordrea Tankersley, Clemson corner. Loved this pick. Thought he was a 2nd round lock. So excellent pick here. 5th round, Isaac Asiata, the offensive guard from Utah. Solid pick in the 5th round. And another 5th round pick, Devon Godchow, defense tackle, LSU. Probably would have been like a 3rd rounder, but drops due to off the field issues and maybe lack of production. Kind of disappears now and then, but did have good production. So pretty solid value pick. 6th round, loved this pick. Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle from Oklahoma State. I had him graded as a 3rd rounder. D tackle that can rush the passer. They get him in the 6th round, so definite steal. And the 7th round, another steal. Isaiah Ford, wide receiver, Virginia Tech. One point was known as maybe a 3rd rounder. Bad workouts drop him to maybe like 5th round, and they get him in the 7th. Excellent route runner. I think he contributes as a 7th rounder even. So 3 picks I really love with the Dolphins: Cordrea Tankersley, Vincent Taylor, Isaiah Ford. Excellent picks. I'm gonna go Dolphins. Win the 1st round battle over the Patriots. I mean, it helps that they had more picks. So Patriots good draft, but Dolphins had an excellent draft. They win. Bills versus the Jets is next. We're going to start with the Bills. They did fire their whole GM and scouting staff, which was pretty surprising to me. They had a pretty good draft. Only thing is, I think they needed more picks. They ended up with less, I believe, or maybe around the same. But they gained a 1st round for next year, so we'll just get into these picks. Tre'Davious White, 1st round, late 1st round. I expected him to go around there, and they added some picks while doing it, so I like that. 2nd rounder they took Zay Jones. This was funny because I thought the Bills needed a receiver badly, and I was like, before they even traded up, I was thinking it would be nice for the Bills to have Zay Jones, but they would need to make a move, and they just did just that and took Zay Jones. Absolutely love that pick. I had him graded as a late 1st rounder. Expected him to go early 2nd, though, and that's where he went, but I love that pick. Deion Dawkins in the late 2nd round. That's where I expected him to go. Matt Milano, 5th round. I thought he was more 6th, but 5th's not really reaching too much. Nathan Peterman, the 5th. It's going to be interesting to see Cardale Jones versus Peterman, 2nd and 3rd string job battle. But overall is a good pick, Peterman. Sounded like he was going to go like 3rd round. I kind of thought he was more of a 4th or 5th, but good pick. And then Tanner Vallejo, Boise State, outside linebacker in the 6th round where I expected him to go. So, I mean, for everybody to get fired, this was a pretty solid draft. I really like the Zay Jones pick. I think he will make an impact right away. On to the Jets draft. Can they beat that Bills draft, which I thought was pretty solid? Took Jamal Adams, as you know, one of my favorite players in the draft, my number 2 player, and they got him at 6, so that's an absolute A+, no questions. Marcus May in the second round, so they got the duo safeties. That they stacked up the safeties. Solid pick for Marcus May. Maybe a couple of picks too early, but it's not a reach at all. Third round, Ardarius Stewart. I expect him to go third. He's got a lot of upside to him. Problem is they don't have a quarterback, but it's a good pick. I agree what they tried to do, build the rest of the roster around the quarterback that you eventually will get, or maybe they can use one of their young guys they already have, or McCown. Other fourth rounder is next fourth pick was a fourth rounder, is another receiver, Chad Henson. I really like Chad Henson, his deep ball ability, go up and catch the ball, so I really liked it as a fourth rounder, kind of expecting him around there though. Jordan Leggett, I expected him around round 4, they got him round 5. Good pick. Dylan Donahue, 5th round. This was a little too early for me. I thought 6 at the earliest, but probably 7th. So that one is a bit of a reach for me. 6th round, Elijah McGuire. McGuire is definitely a sleeper running back. I expected him 6th round. That's where they got him. Receiving back that they can use. Jeremy Clark, corner from Michigan in the 6th. Expected him around that 6-7 range. And then their other 6 is Derek Jones, corner of Ole Miss. I have him listed in my database, but I did not grade him. So maybe a little reach there, but it was a late pick. So a couple of really good picks for the Jets, but then there's a few that were a little early. This is a tough one. This is a tough one to pick. Who's going to win it? I did like the Bills draft, but I thought they needed more picks. They did gain a first round from last year, but we're talking about this draft, and I really like those first 5 guys that the Jets got: Adams, May, Stewart, Hanson, Leggett. I really like those picks a lot. I think all those guys can help their team right away, and Jamal Adams might have been my favorite player of the draft. So we're going to give this to the Jets, but the Bills did not have a bad draft. Good job to them. Zay Jones really liked that draft pick. So who do we got next? We got the Chiefs versus the Raiders. Chiefs trade up for Pat Mahomes. Yeah, they traded quite a bit, but Mahomes is the QB of the future. I use my number 2 quarterback. I like Mahomes. Thing I recently thought of is Mahomes pretty much has it all except for that game manager and the mechanics. That's what Alex Smith has. He has the mechanics and he's a game manager. So sitting behind Alex Smith he will learn the things that he does not have. I think that can end up being very good. I don't really agree with sitting a first-round quarterback, but in that situation, I really like it. Alex Smith is nothing like special. He's a good quarterback, but I just like that what he has, Mahomes does not have and needs work on. So that'll be great. I like that pick. Not wowing about it because they had to trade stuff for it, but it's a good pick. Tano Passanio, defense lineman from Nova. I expected him round 2. That's where he went. Freak guy. Got a lot of upside. Round 3, Kareem Hunt, running back Toledo. Good receiving back, solid running back to contribute to that offense. I expected him round 3. That's where he went. Chesson from Michigan in round 4, wide receiver. Maybe a round too early for that, but he's a good receiver. Yukeem Aligui in round 5, outside linebacker from Georgia Southern. I thought he was more of a 7th rounder, so I did not like that pick. 6th round, Leon McQuay. Thought he was 6th or 7th round safety, so they took him in the 6th. Nothing to wow about. I liked their first 3 picks, but after that, they didn't do that great, but, I mean, okay to help the depth of the team. And the Chiefs are going up against the Raiders. Let's go to the Raiders draft. They took Garyon Conley in the 1st. If everything checks out, that's a great draft pick. Obi Melifonwu in the 2nd. Excellent draft pick. Expected him in the 1st, even though I graded him early 2nd. A lot of upside to him. Eddie Vanderdoes. Thought that was maybe a round or 2 too early, but a good player. Round 4, David Sharp, offensive lineman, Florida. Expected him around this range. Solid pick. Markel Lee. Thought he was more of a 6th rounder. I took him in the 5th. Luwani, safety from Washington State, did not have him graded, but they did take him in the 7th. And then Ware from Alabama State, that I also did not have him graded. They took him in the 7th. And they had 4 7th round picks. Elijah Hood, I love that 7th round pick. Solid running back from North Carolina, sleeper running back. 2 years ago, I thought he was going to be maybe a 2nd rounder when he came to the draft, and he dropped a little bit. And then Trayvon Hester, defensive tackle, Toledo, they took with their last pick, and I thought he was a late 7th or undrafted. That's where they took him. So this is tough. This is a tough one. Both teams took guys, I think, a little too early. In my opinion, it's really tough decision. I'm gonna give it to the Raiders. I'm gonna give it to the Raiders because they really needed to upgrade that defense, mainly the defensive back. group, and they did with Garyon Conley and Obi Melifonwu. They got two guys that could potentially be something special. And even though the Chiefs got Mahomes, it's more of a future thing, and they did trade out of that. So very close. Overall, solid drafts. Nothing to wow about. I like both their early parts of the draft were good. I thought they could have done better later on. So not like an A grade draft or anything. But I'm gonna go with the Raiders here. On to the Broncos versus the Chargers. Broncos and Chargers. We're going to go Broncos first here. Broncos took Garrett Bowles. I wasn't a fan of any offensive lineman here, but Garrett Bowles was a solid pick. Round 2, Demarcus Walker was definitely a sleeper. Second in the nation in sacks. Knows how to get to the quarterback. Broncos will use him right on that D-line. Carlos Henderson in the 3rd round. One of my favorite players in the draft. Thought he was a 2nd rounder. Can do so many things. Excellent pick. 3rd round, Brandon Langley, corner from Lamar. Got an upside to him, but I thought this was early. I thought he was going to go 5th round maybe. So a little early. Jake Butt in the 5th. Solid pick. I expected him to go in the 4th, but does come with some risk due to him tearing his ACL not too long ago. Isaiah McKenzie in the 5th. Thought he was more of a 6th or 7th round pick, but a shifty receiver. 6th round, D'Angelo Henderson, running back, Coastal Carolina. Solid 6th round pick. And then the last pick of the draft was Chad Kelly. This could be a steal, I think, if he gets a shot to play. Does come with off the field issues and slight injury concern. Overall, good draft for the Broncos. Really loved the DeMarcus Walker and Carlos Henderson picks. Really love those. But they either hit or I don't want to say miss, but maybe took guys too early in there. Chargers. I already know it's gonna be a tough matchup because I like that Broncos draft, and I already know I like the Chargers draft. Got to look at it one more time, though. Let's see it. Mike Williams, 7th overall, my number 1 wide receiver, good pick. And then they get Forrest Lamp in the 2nd and Dan Feeney in the 3rd. Forrest Lamp could have been a 1st rounder. I had him graded as 2nd. Good pick there. They needed offensive lineman. The Dan Feeney I thought was a 2nd round lock, and they got him in the 3rd. I think they got 2 starters on the offensive line right there, and they needed that desperately. Good job through their first 3 picks. Then Rayshon Jenkins, I thought was a little early. I thought was maybe 5th round at the earliest, probably 6th. They get him in the 4th, but then they get a steal again in the 5th. Desmond King, I don't know how this guy dropped to the 5th. One of the biggest steals in the draft. Chargers taking Desmond King, and again, I don't know how he dropped there. Corner / safety. I think they're gonna play him at safety, but I honestly think he's a corner. But good pick. He'll work out there hopefully. 6th round, Sam Tevi, offensive tackle, Utah, did not have him graded. They took him in the 6th. But they had a good 7th round pick in Rochelle from Notre Dame. Thought he would go 5th or 6th. Good draft pick there. This is tough, very tough. Out of both teams, my favorite pick, even though Desmond King was a complete steal, my favorite pick is Carlos Henderson of the Broncos. Love that pick. But overall, I'm going to give it to the Chargers. I think they filled some big needs here and also got a steal with Desmond King. That really, they just helped Phillip Rivers a lot. Mike Williams, Forrest Lamp, Dan Feeney upgraded that offense. I think they'll have a good season. This division's going to be good. None of those teams are bad. This is a good division. Could have done more on the defense, I guess, for the Chargers. Desmond King, Jenkins could have helped. But I like that Chargers pick. I think they help themselves more. So Broncos with a great draft, but I'm going to go Chargers. On to the next matchup. Steelers and the Ravens. Steelers take TJ Watt. Now, I thought that was a reach. I thought he was a 2nd round player. Has a lot of potential. I guess went to the right team if he's going to be an outside linebacker. I think he'll be good one day, but he's very raw. Did have production, but if you watch the tape, a lot of his sacks came from blitz packages where he was not picked up. So can the Steelers do something similar? I suppose they could, but he needs some work. 2nd round, Juju Smith-Schuster. Not the biggest need, but a great player, and we'll see the field and will help them out a ton. 3rd round, Cameron Sutton. I think he can get in there and play nickel right away. I love that pick. 3rd round, James Conner, running back, Pittsburgh. Good player. Thought maybe a round too early, but good player that can contribute as a backup. 4th round, Josh Dobbs. I love this pick. He's going to be Big Ben's backup. I think he will work well with what they have. Good fit, and I think he'll eventually be a really good quarterback. So I like that pick. Brian Allen in the 5th, corner that can also play safety, in my opinion. That's where I expected him to go. They took a long snapper in the 6th. I guess they may have needed a long snapper, but you don't see that, so a bit of a reach. Keon Adams in the 7th. That's a solid 7th round pick. DN from Western Michigan, which is where I expected him to go. So overall, pretty good draft for the Steelers. Not really a fan of their 1st round pick, though. But he will be a good player in TJ Watt. And the Ravens are next. They're playing the Steelers in this bracket, ESPN calls it. Marlon Humphrey in the first round, a little too early, even though he was considered a first-round pick. Tyus Bowser in the second. That's where I expected him to go. Can contribute pretty early on in his career. Chris Wormley in the third, D-tackle Michigan. Had a chance to go second round. Good pick in the third. And then Tim Williams, one of the good steals in this draft. First-round talent, off-the-field issues, drops him. I figured it would drop him to late second. Drops him to third round, and the Ravens get a great player. Watch out for this guy for their rookie of the year, the team rookie of the year. I think he gets some playing time if he stays clean off the field. He's a solid player. Nico Saragusa in the fourth, expected him 4-5, so pretty solid. And then Jermaine Illuminor, Texas A&M offensive lineman. I think he could play guard or tackle. Thought that was an excellent fifth-round pick. Expected him in the fourth. And then sixth round, Chuck Clark, the safety/corner from VTech, solid sixth-round pick. I really like both teams' drafts, but I got to give it to the Ravens. There's not one bad thing about this draft. I thought Humphrey was a little early in the first round, but they needed a corner, and he's got a ton of potential. They got four guys in a row that can really contribute right away on that defense. That defense is going to be damn good. So I really like what the Ravens did. I'm going to give the win to them. Bengals versus the Browns are next. This is going to be a good one. I know both teams had a really good draft. Start with the Bengals. Looking at John Ross, first round. Solid pick. Him and A.J. Green could be scary. Joe Mixon in the second round. First round talent. They do have other running backs, but near future, Joe Mixon will be their best running back. Good pick. And looking at the third and the fourth rounds, Jordan Willis and Carl Lawson, two edge rushers that were expected way earlier. Very, very good picks, good steals. And then another fourth rounder, Josh Malone, wide receiver at Tennessee, who I love, was probably my personal biggest riser going into the draft. I figured he would not get out of the third. They got him in the fourth. So you look at those picks. How many? That is 5 picks. That's pick 128. So through picks 128, the Bengals had the best draft I've seen in a while. That is the best draft by far I've seen in a while. But I'm valuing the whole draft. I'm valuing even the bottom of the draft as much as the top of the draft. So let's go on to the next picks, which I'm not a fan of. Next fourth round, Ryan Glasgow. Thought he was more of a fifth, maybe a sixth rounder, so a little too early. Fifth round, they take Jake Elliott, kicker, from Memphis, who I thought was the second best kicker. I know a lot of people even thought he was third. They took him in the fifth round when he was the first kicker off the board. So don't like that pick at all. They did need a kicker, though, pretty badly. In the fifth round, they took a tackle from Utah. I did not have Dielman graded, so that's early. Sixth round, Jordan Evans. Thought he was 6th or 7th, so that one's okay. Sixth round, Brandon Wilson. He doesn't really have a position. He's a corner that his corner talents are probably 7th round. He can play running back. His running back talents are probably 7th round. They took him in the 6th, so not too much of a reach. And 7th round, they have a tight end that I did not grade. So that top draft is the best draft. That bottom part of the draft is up there for probably the worst. So I don't know what to do with the Bengals there. I know the top is more important, but I'm valuing the entire thing equally. I thought that was the best way to do it. So this is tough. I really love that top part of the draft. Well, let's check out the Browns. Browns took Myles Garrett, the obvious choice. Good pick, best player in the draft. And then Jabril Peppers, I thought he was a second rounder. I'm not a fan of him in the first round. He's a good athlete, but I'm not really a fan of him in the first round. David Njoku, tight end from Miami, good pick. Replaces Gary Barnidge. Then Deshaun Kaiser, excellent pick in the second round. And then third round, Larry Ogunjobi, where I expected him to go. Fourth round, Howard Wilson, corner from Houston, who I like. I actually had him graded round 3, even though I expected him to go round 4. Excellent corner, needs to gain some weight, some strength a little bit, but that's not that important for a corner. He can make a play on the ball. I like him a lot. Roderick Johnson, great pick in the 5th. I thought he would go 3rd or 4th. So excellent pick. He can play right away if they need some help there, but they have a pretty solid line. 6th round, Caleb Brantley. I don't know if I would have drafted Caleb Brantley because his off-the-field issue was so recent, but he is a second-round talent, so it's hard to grade that. And then Zane Gonzalez, the best kicker in the draft. It's funny how these two teams are going against each other, and they got Zane Gonzalez in the 7th. I was told by people in the league that this was one of the best kickers they've ever scouted. So him going in the 7th, to me, is a great pick. And then Matthew Days in the 7th was a solid running back that I expected as high as 5, but I expected 6th round. They get him with a 252 overall. Good pick. So The first part of the Bengals draft is better, but the most complete draft is the Browns, so I'm going to give it to the Browns. Bengals, again, I really, really liked what they were doing as I was watching the draft. I was just wowed by that first part of the draft, which the first part is more important, but again, it's fair to go to value the whole thing equally, in my opinion. So we're going Browns here, but Bengals overall good draft. Texans versus the Titans is next. I already know this is gonna be a tough one here. This is gonna be a very tough one. That whole division did very well, I believe. I gotta look at them again here, but Texans trade up for Deshaun Watson, my number one quarterback in the draft. Good pick. Zach Cunningham in the second round. Some had him first. I had him graded as in second, but they did get a good value pick there. Deontay Foreman in the third. Another good value pick. Expected him early third, though, but a solid value pick. Fourth round, Julian Davenport. Kind of one of those potential offensive linemen of the future with the right work. So I expected him round 4. So good pick. Now I love this next pick. Carlos Watkins, D-tackle, Clemson. A D-tackle that can get after the quarterback at a very high level from college, and those Clemson D linemen just keep ending up being solid. So I thought he was a second or third rounder. They got him in the 4th. Love that pick. 5th round, Tristan Deku, Oregon State. Got some potential, but I thought that was a round too early maybe. Then Kyle Fuller, the center from Baylor in the 7th. That's a solid pick. So overall, solid draft. Nothing's a reach really there. On to the Titans. First pick was Corey Davis. Maybe a little early. Was my number 2 receiver, but he fits with the Titans more than a Mike Williams, so I understand it. An overall good player will help the team, was a big need. Other first round, Adoree Jackson. Now as a corner, I don't think Adoree Jackson was worth a first round pick at all. I thought he was a second round corner, maybe a late second round value, talent-wise corner. But he can play receiver. He can be a returner. For him to be worthy of a first round pick, he needs to do all of that. I would guarantee he's going to start at corner because they need DBs very badly. I can guarantee he's going to be the kick returner because he's excellent at that. I hope they use him at receiver because then he'll be worthy of the first round pick. But as a corner, he needs a lot of work. He does get beat a lot. But I did state in the past, even though I kind of bashed him a little bit, I did state if he went to the right defensive mind, I think he will end up being something special. He will reach that potential earlier than I thought if he went to the right defensive mind because he does have a lot of potential. And Dick LeBeau in Tennessee is a good coach to go to. So overall, it's a reach, but I can see him working out very well in Tennessee. 3rd round, Taywan Taylor, wide receiver, Western Kentucky. Got another wide receiver, which they needed. This guy fits. He fits the Titans, what they're trying to do with Mariota. He can play slot and he can play outside. I think he makes an impact right away. I like that pick. Even though Carlos Henderson may have been a slightly better pick, I like Taylor there, can fit very well. Jonnu Smith, tight end from Florida International, maybe a round too early, but he is a good fit. I think they just had to have him. Very similar to Delaney Walker, who they have. So maybe he's on his way out, even though he's still playing a high level. Or they can play him together. That could be very good. 5th round, really like this 5th round pick, Jayon Brown, linebacker from UCLA, production guy. He's all over the field. Thought he'd be a 4th rounder. They get him in the 5th. Corey Levin in the 6th round. Did not have him graded, so maybe a little reach there. 7th round, Josh Carraway. I had him as a 5th rounder. This could be a good steal here for them. Could he end up working out in Tennessee? So I really like Carraway, the edge rusher from TCU. He can play outside linebacker for Tennessee as depth for right now. Brad Seaton, they took another offensive lineman that I did not have graded, but he was a 7th rounder. And then Muhammad, the running back from California, thought he was late 7th round drafted. He went late 7th there. So there's a couple reaches here for Tennessee, but they helped their team out a lot, their roster out, and they got better. This is very tough to decide. I'm gonna go with the Texans just because they didn't really have any reaches, and that Carlos Watkins pick was an excellent value. I really like that pick. Not just that one, a couple more, but very tough. Titans had a good draft. Filled a lot of needs, but the Texans had a great draft. And the last one for the AFC, Colts versus the Jags. Again, this whole division had a great draft. This could be the Final Four. The whole division could be the Final Four. Who knows? But unfortunately, this is the way it goes. We're going with division. But Colts, Malik Hooker, 15th overall. Had him graded as my 4th overall player, so great steal there. Quincy Wilson, the boomer bust corner, but I still had him graded as a 1st rounder. And they got him in the 2nd, another great player. 3rd round, Terrell Basham, defensive end from Ohio. I expected him to go in this range. Could help out early in his career. 4th round, Zach Banner, offensive lineman, USC. Expected him 4th round, possibly 3rd, so good pick. And then this is probably my favorite pick of theirs, Marlon Mack, the running back from South Florida, in the 4th. I thought he was a 2nd or 3rd rounder. Really no weaknesses to his game. I think Dalvin Cook dropping kind of pushed all the running backs back. There was some questionable ones drafted along the way, maybe too early, but really love that. So through that pick, I love this draft. One of the best drafts, similar to the Bengals. But then their other 4th rounder, I took Grover Stewart. I graded as a 7th rounder, but kind of an upside guy from a small school. But I thought that was too early. Nate Harrison, the corner from Temple, I thought maybe was around too early. But their last pick in the 5th round, Anthony Walker from Northwestern, really liked that pick. Could have been a 4th rounder. Could see the field right away early in his career for the Colts at linebacker because they could have used some defense. Overall, good draft. They had a couple steals in the beginning. Then Marlon Mack, I really liked that pick. And they pretty much needed defense except offense. They could have used a lineman and a running back, and they actually got both those positions, and they got pretty solid guys at those positions. So I like the Colts draft a lot. They're going against the Jags, though. I know if the Jags had a good draft as well. Let me take a look at this Jags draft. We got Fournette in the 1st round. Good pick. Expecting to go there. Cam Robinson in the 2nd. Even though I had him graded around this area, it sounded like he may have gone earlier in this, but he did not. He went here, so good pick. Dwayne Smoot in the 3rd. Thought maybe 2nd round, but I expected him early 3rd. 4th round, D.D. Westbrook. This is a tough one because skill-wise, he's a 2nd round talent, but he has a ton of off-the-field issues, so kind of got to wait and see on that one, but it is a good talent. 5th round, Blair Brown. Good pick. Expected him 5, possibly could slide in the 4. He went 5. Jalen Myrick, 7th round, corner from Minnesota. Expected him maybe 5 or 6. Was thinking 6. He goes 7. Good pick. And then 7th round fullback from Miami. He was my 3rd ranked fullback. They took him over Freddie Stevenson. Maybe he fits, but not really sure on that last pick. But this is a tough one. Both teams helped themselves out a lot. It's very tough. I think the amount of steals the Colts have had put them on top in this one, but it's very close. The Jags had a good draft, good solid draft. They both have A drafts, really. They both have A drafts. The Colts got some steals. Did not like that Grover Stewart pick, though, but the Colts got some steals, so I'm going to go with the Colts here, but could go either way. But that'll do it for the AFC teams. 1st round. We have the Dolphins. We have the Jets. We have the Raiders, the Chargers, the Ravens, the Browns, the Texans, and the Colts. They're on to the next round. NFC video is up next, and we'll keep going on. We'll keep going on until we have a winner of the draft. It was a good draft. I feel like most teams had very solid picks. But we'll keep going with this, and we'll see. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Goodbye.